There are quality citizens out there that use cannabis regularly and still perform well in the society. Quite a few of them are in the higher ups in the government. Not sure if I can say this, but they're there. I'm sure at the end of the day, they're just waiting for the time that they can say that, yay, let's make it legalized. I am Max. I am a cannabis advocate. I was born and raised in Thailand and educated in Canada, and came back to Thailand about 8 years ago and have been working on cannabis ever since. When I was in Canada, I was learning medicine and botany, mainly biology. Cannabis was everywhere. People was using cannabis regularly, and a clinic wasn't far away from where I lived. It was normal for me to see or talk on the subject of cannabis, whether it will be recreational or medical use. Cannabis is an annual plant, can be used as food, medicine, and textile. It has been part of Thai culture for the past quite a few hundred years, especially in the Thai traditional medicine and the textile of the Hmong tribes. Cannabis can be separated into 4 main parts: the flower, the stem, the roots, and the leaf. The flower, especially the female flower, usually used for medicine. The leaves are mainly used for cooking. In some traditional medicine, they use the leaves and the root for medicine. The stalk and the stem are usually used for fiber, mostly for textiles. It helps mediate our body in general. If your immune system works too much or too low, it will bring it up to the optimum level. It helps reduce inflammation. It helps the cells goes through regular cycles. That's why it helps with cancer. A lot of ailments that revolves around inflammation, whether it will be gout, joint pain, muscle pain, even nervous system pain. Cannabis helps our body to become normal again. Thai cannabis strains are mainly sativa dominant, or just mainly sativa in general. They're tall, they tend to have a sweet sense to it. Some has a spicy sense to it. And these are the scents that are quite prominent in the Thai cannabis strain. Thai cannabis strains are great for this region, for the climate. It's resistant to pests and mold. The older days, they would say that Thai cannabis strain is the best for the high. But really what it does is makes you feel good and uplift, rather than giving the couch lock effects. When Thai cannabis strain was rediscovered by Westerners, especially Americans during the Vietnam War, they found it to be a good high, a very attractive high, the type of high that they like it so much they take it back home to the United States. Thailand, it's new compared to Canada. Despite the fact that Canada just got legalized recreationally back in 2017, the recreational and the medical use community have been around and accepted in their society for a while, at least prominently for medical use since 1990s. In Thailand, despite the fact that cannabis has been around a long time, people still secretly smoke bongs and use cannabis leaf in their chicken soup. We have such a strong stigma towards cannabis itself here in Thailand that people don't talk about cannabis very much. Back around 7 years ago, when I started doing advocacy on cannabis, people was even afraid of uttering the term cannabis or weed or marijuana. I thought it was nonsense. I thought that the law has no common sense, or even the people who pushed the law had no common sense, or even to carry on that law that makes cannabis in Thailand illegal. I feel irritated by the fact that it's not legal when it's a native plant. It has a lot of health benefits and it's in the Thai traditional medicine books. People use cannabis leaf in traditional cooking so that they will feel more relaxed when they finish a long day of work, especially from growing rice and agricultural and labor work. And some would use cannabis for smoking in bongs to relax at the end of the day before they go back into their regular work. There are quality citizens out there that use cannabis regularly and still perform well in the society. Quite a few of them are in the higher ups in the government. Not sure if I can say this, but they're there. I'm sure at the end of the day, they're just waiting for the time that they can say that, yay, let's make it legalized. I think it's ridiculous. The cigarette is legal, but cannabis is illegal for recreational use or just everyday use. If you're 21 and older, you can just go and buy a cigarette when cigarette causes cancer and other cardiovascular disease and other diseases in general. But cannabis helps reverse most of those diseases, and yet it's still illegal. I would love to see the future of cannabis become legalized to the point that you can buy and sell and grow cannabis everywhere in Thailand. I never really think that cannabis is addictive, but the behavior of the user is the one that makes them addicted to cannabis. To say that cannabis is an addictive substance, it's really incorrect, especially in the scientific term, because it's less addictive than sugar, and sugar is everywhere. So should we say the whole world promote addictive substance such as sugar and caffeine and not cannabis when it's less addictive? It's a little bit odd. I think that some communities still against cannabis is because of the previous stigma that cannabis equal drugs, cannabis equal getting crazy, cannabis equal getting addiction. These stigmas is still strong in some community, especially in the retiring community, because they grew up along the drug prohibition era and the era of stigmatization of cannabis and drug in general. Some of the medical community don't really accept cannabis as a medicine quite just yet, because their main theme is there aren't enough evidence, research evidence. Initially, we started with a Thai page called Ganchashon, which means the people of cannabis. And we started getting a lot of traction of people who has interest in cannabis in Thailand. But then we noticed that we need more attention from abroad. That's why we started the page Highland Network, so that we can have community from abroad that I've experienced. We want Thai community to accept this meritful plants again, which is a native plant to Thailand. .420 is basically an unofficial cannabis day. It started in the United States. It spread throughout the world, and we wanted to bring that culture here. So we started Thailand 420 back in 2014. So we can ease people into understanding and absorbing the information about cannabis and the cannabis culture in general. So people could understand that cannabis isn't that bad. And people could slowly wash the cannabis stigma away. And it worked. I would love to support the legalization of cannabis in Thailand because it's just common sense. It's a native plant. Thai people have been using it for a very long time. It's part of Thai traditional medicine. It's part of the way of life. It's part of the Thai cuisine. It's part of Thai culture in some communities. It's a main theme here, isn't it? To make cannabis legalized. It's just an act of common sense.
Coconuts TV.